Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Jamuna Tiravana Chari
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Jamuna Tiravana Chari
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Jamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tira Banachari
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajak Acharya Ashtotara Shata Shishimar His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai
Jai
ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai
Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai
Jai
Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai
Jai
Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai
Jai
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai
Jai
Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai
Jai
Ganga Mai Ki Jai
Jai
Jamuna Mai Ki Jai
Jai
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai
Jai
Bhakti Devi Ki Jai
Jai
Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai
Jai
Shoma Veta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai
Jai
Gaur Prem Anande
Hari Hari Bo
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna
All Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We are reading, studying, and discussing Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We're on the 6th chapter. Does anyone know the title of the 6th chapter?
Dhyana yoga.
What is that? Dhyana Yoga, which means what? What does dhyana mean?
Meditation.
Okay, meditation. Yes, very good, very good. Yes, so we're at the 24th verse, so we'll chant it responsibly, and then if you'd like to chant, we can. Sa nishchayena yoktavya
Sanishchayena yuktavyo
yogo nirvinachetasa
yogo nirvinachetasa
sankalpa prabhavan kamams
sankalpa prabhavan kamas
Chaktva sarvan asheshata
tyaktva sarvan aseshata
Manasayavendriyo gramam
manasaiva indriya gramam
viniyamya samantata
viniyamya samantataha
sanishchayena yoktavyo
sanishchayena yuktavyo
yogo nirvinachetasa
yogo nirvinachetasa
sankalpa prabhavan kamams
sankalpa prabhavan kamas
Jaktva sarvan asheshata
tyaktva sarvan asesata
Manasayavendriya gramam
manasayavendriyam gramam
viniyamya
nirvinachetasa
yogo nirvinachetasa
sankalpa prabhavan kamas
sankalpa prabhavan kamas
tyaktva sarvan asesataha
Jaktva sarvan asheshata
manasayavendriya gramam
Manasayavendriya gramam
vinimya samantataha
viniyamya samantata
sanishchayena yuktavyo
yogo nirvinachetasa
sankalpa prabhavan kamas tyaktva sarvan asesata manasayendriya gramam viniyamya samantataha
Sanishchayena yoktavyo
sanishchayena yuktavyo
yogo nirvinachetasa
yogo nirvinachetasa
sankalpa prabhavan
sankalpa prabhavan kamas
kamas
tyaktva sarvan aseshata manasayendriya gramam
viniyamya samantata Bishal, please chant.
sanishchayena yuktavyo yogo nirvinachetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamas tyaktva sarvan asesata manasayavendriya gramam vinimya samantataha
See, nobody says.
sanishchayena yuktavyo yogo nirvinachetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamas tyaktva sarvan aseshata manasayendriya gramam viniyamya samantata
Sa,
sa
that,
that
nishchayena,
nischayena
with firm determination,
with firm determination
yoktavya,
yoktavya
must be practiced.
must be practiced.
Yoga,
Yoga,
the yoga system.
system,
Anirvinna chetasa,
anirvinna chetasa,
without deviation.
without deviation,
Sankalpa,
sankalpa,
mental speculation.
mental speculation,
Prabhava,
prabhavan,
born of.
prana,
Kama,
kaman,
material desires.
material desire,
Tyaktva,
tyakva,
giving up.
giving up,
Sarvan,
sarvan,
all.
all,
Asheshata,
asesata,
completely.
completely,
Manasa,
manasa,
by the mind.
by the mind,
Eva,
eva,
certainly.
certainly,
Indriya gramam,
indriya gramam,
the full set of senses.
the full set of senses,
Viniyamya,
viniyamya,
regulating.
regulating,
Samantata,
samantata,
from all sides.
from all sides.
Translation. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born from mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha nishchayat dharyat tat karma pravartanat sangas tyagat sato vite Shadbir Bhakti Prashidyati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in the activities of goodness. Upadeshamrita, verse 3. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow, who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal. So, the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last, Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus, Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus, the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job, but if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help. For God helps those who help themselves. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Dadati Sha Pandatikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Before speaking, I'd like to ask permission from the devotees, those who might be senior by age or by advancement in Krishna consciousness or by involvement in the Hare Krishna movement. Hare Krishna. There's some seniors here. Some seniors here. Thank you. So, in this chapter, Lord Krishna, who is the inventor of and the master of yoga, he's known as Yogeshwar, is giving detailed directions to the yoga practitioner how to make tangible and steady progress on the path of yoga. You follow? For those who might have an interest in making that progress, it behooves us to consider and study carefully the points that Lord Krishna makes in this chapter, and also, in addition, take steps to apply them in our daily practice and in our lives, rather than just imagining we're making up ways we think we might progress, or to follow a fashionable contemporary method developed outside of these valuable and essential guidelines given here by Lord Krishna. Do you follow? Okay. Some of the directions that Lord Krishna reveals in this chapter pertain exclusively to the Eightfold Yoga system. We learned about that, remember? Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. Yeah. But many, including the verses that we're fortunate today to review, also can apply to, or there are corollaries that apply to all the genuine branches or brands of yoga, including bhakti yoga, or devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. You follow? Okay. For example, do you remember any of the previous verses? Anybody who's here? The first verse that we've been surveying the verses in the 6th chapter, which is, as you mentioned, Jnana Yoga. So, for one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, work is said to be the means. And one who has already attained to yoga, cessation. Do you remember this? Remember this? Cessation of all material activities is said to be the means. Okay, so for one who is a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system, so a neophyte in the Eightfold Yoga system is doing lots of stuff, like the asanas. It's a lot of work, how to stretch and learn to. But in the end, they're not necessarily going to do that. So the corollary in Krishna consciousness or bhakti yoga to that, anybody would know? One could just go and sit in a solitary place and chant Hare Krishna. You don't agree? No. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport of that verse that at the beginning of Bhakti Yoga also, a person should always be seeking out some kind of service to be done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. 24 hours as much as possible. Sure. So that was, we're reviewing some of the previous verses. Do you remember any of the other verses in this chapter that might or may not apply to Bhakti Yoga in addition to Dhyana Yoga, which is the subject matter of this chapter? I wrote some down here in case you'll have them, if you remember. I'll give you a star if you remember any of them. Come on. Well, one of the first things Lord Krishna said, that you have to, if you remember this, you have to renounce the desire for sense gratification. Wow, God, that's shocking. Because our whole lives practically are built on how we can satisfy ourselves and satisfy our senses, right? So one might not be able to attain that position right away, but at least understand that that's not the direction we're going. Yoga is not, we're not practicing yoga so that we can enjoy, eat better, have better sex life, become wealthy by these things. Right? So the nice verses are given in the Shastras. Atmendriya priti bancha tare bole kam. Atmendriya priti bancha tare bole kam. Krishnendriya priti icha dhare prem nam. That's Bengali, I think. You understand? So to want to satisfy our own senses, that's called kam, lust. Krishnendriya priti, but to satisfy Krishna's senses, that's called prem, that's called love. So there's a distinction, yeah. So even in this yoga system and also in the bhakti yoga system, both there's this thing where our focus isn't trying to satisfy the senses of this body, because one thing is the basis of yoga, the beginning thing is we're understanding, hey, I am not this body. Why should I live my whole life following a lie? It's shocking. We do. People live their whole lives trying to arrange things for the satisfaction of the body when they'll lose the body, or sooner or later. No, this was another one. And whether we're in the Ashtanga Yoga system or the Bhakti Yoga system, there are 4 basic restrictions that people follow that kind of are the epitome of sense gratification in order to make progress. No eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and no gambling. These things. Any other ones you remember before we get to this verse? These are, see whether they apply to Bhakti Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga. Yeah. So then Krishna says, for one who has controlled his mind, or her mind, the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his or her very mind will be his greatest enemy. So you wake up in the morning and you're greeted with your mind. It's right there with you. I think I told this story before, I don't remember it was here. But in college, I lived in the dorms for a while. Did anybody else here live in the dorms? Yeah, okay. How was your roommate?
It was a friend.
Okay, yeah. So in those days, they didn't even check, they didn't check if your roommate was a smoker or a non-smoker, they just put you in. So my roommate happened to be a cigar smoker. You can imagine. So he liked to smoke his cigars late at night and early in the morning. Oh my God, so the first thing you wake up, and there it is, this cloud of awful smelling smoke. It's like your mind, right? You wake up and there's the mind. See, I couldn't influence him. He's a senior class. When I was a freshman, he was a senior, so I had no. But with your mind, you've got an opportunity to make it your friend. That's the yoga process. That's the yoga process. So whether it's bhakti yoga or this dhyana yoga, both, the process is to make your mind the friend. Okay. So then, here's one that was we were also involved with. In this chapter it says, in order to practice yoga, you've got to go to a secluded place. We got to go to a secluded place and then sit on a deer skin and a soft cloth and sit very straight with your head, back, neck, head in a straight line. Do you know this? Yeah. So how many of you do that? No? I mean, I was watching how we were chanting japa here. Very few people even sat straight. Well, anyway, does that apply to bhakti yoga and chanting japa or not? What do you think? You say yes. What makes you say yes? Go ahead. Yeah, sure, why not? Yeah.
Well, that's what
Shashi Shekhar Prabhu.
that's how it's described in the Bhagavad Gita. So
Yeah, but doesn't that apply to that applies to the dhyana or meditation yoga, no? What about, how, does it really apply to bhakti yoga? You say yes. I'm picking on you, just like I picked on Vishal before. See, this is not just a spectator sport here today, folks. No. We're going to get you involved a little bit.
well, it's leading up. So these yogas are leading to bhakti yoga. So
Okay.
building, so you can keep that part and build the bhakti yoga. But
Okay, Mike.
It must be of some importance when the devotees were chanting to sit properly.
Interesting, very good point. Yeah, you know, devotees when they chant japa often, they play a tape of Srila Prabhupada chanting japa. And sometimes in the middle of the tape you'll hear Prabhupada stop and say, sit properly. Sit properly. Because I mean, you know, sitting straight will help you in your concentration. And the point of japa is to concentrate your mind on Krishna. Right? So it applies. You don't have to use a deer skin or a soft cloth though. You know what the deer skin's for? Keeps the snakes away. Unless you have snakes in your house. Or I don't know. Anyway, that's it. So some things, and to be in a secluded place, well, you know, if you're in a place that's very, very distracting, it's going to be hard. So yes, to be in a secluded place in this case, and for a devotee means some place where one can not be distracted by unlimited things. Okay. I know that we used to run a summer camp for kids in a place called Lake Huntington, which was in the Catskill Mountains. Have you been to the Catskill Mountains, anybody? Yeah, you must have been. You like camping. Yeah. So the Catskill Mountains, you know, at those days, this is like in the 80s, like the ancient history. And on the property, it was a 70-acre property. I think Acharya Prabhu must have gone to Lake Huntington, right? Yeah. So there was one phone on the property. One. And it was a payphone. And there was no other electronic devices of any kind, no cell phones, TV, you know, any other electronic devices. And it was very interesting because we do that summer camp for two-week sessions, so for about a month, right? And maybe you experience this sometimes when you travel, when you're traveling outside. But after about, you know, no phone, no electronics. After about 2 weeks, something changed in your consciousness, in my consciousness. I know, and other people, it wasn't just me, I know that. That, you know, my consciousness, my mind became a little bit calmer and less distractible, isn't it? Yeah, so this is a very interesting thing. So to be in an area where there's not, you know, so many day-to-day distractions, that can help you facilitate your focus in your mind, and if you focus your mind on Krishna. Yeah. So then, Acharya Prabhu described in one class also about equanimity, about how a yogi practices seeing pebbles, stones, or gold as the same. Now this sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? Pebbles, stones, and gold is the same. How can you? What is this? So the idea is, as Acharya Prabhu very carefully explained, very nicely explained, that for one's own benefit, we're not going to run around to get stuff. If you want to use the gold for Krishna, that's a different thing. You follow? But for one's own, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor, dishonor, practice being equipoised and not being deviated in all those circumstances. And then to see enemies and friends and well-wishers and the impartial in the same way, to treat them all equally. These are things that can be practiced both in Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Okay, then next, I think this was 2 weeks ago, there was this talk about no one can become a yogi if they eat too much or eat too little, sleep too much or do not sleep enough. Do you remember this stuff? Yeah. These are basic, these are details, but how to apply them in your life. So eating too much or eating too little, that means both quantity and quality, the actual things you're eating too. So if you eat too much or eat too little, then there's going to be obstacles in making progress in spiritual life. Sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. Sometimes you think, well, if you're a yogi, then you want to restrict your food completely, right? And if you fast a lot, then you'll become very spiritually advanced in a short period of time. Well, not according to the Bhagavad Gita. Not really. So actually, in the old New York temple way back when, in the 70s, there was we had 4 floors. And on the 4th floor, there's a particular room. It was kind of out of the way. And there were sometimes, once in a while, we had somebody who would join the Hare Krishna movement, and they would like to go into this kind of, restrictive fasting posture to make spiritual advancement really quickly. And you know what usually happened? After a short time, they'd go a little crazy. Usually what happened. So it's not going to eat too much, or eat too little. Sleep too much, or not sleep enough. All these things. So these are things that apply both to both kinds of yogas. And now today, in this verse, we're getting additional details about how to excel in yoga practice. And from the purport, it's evident that these qualities that Lord Krishna is recommending in this verse to develop are also mentioned in this verse. Anybody remember? What? Determination, anything else?
Perseverance.
Yeah, faith, right? Determination, faith.
Controlling mind and senses.
Yeah, it says controlling to give up all material desires born of mental speculation. It said the word there is asheshata, giving up of the material desires. Asheshata has 2 meanings. The meaning given here was that giving up those material desires completely. Another meaning could be asheshata can also mean unlimited, because you can have unlimited material desires. You're never going to find an end to them, no matter what you try. They go one more. They'll never stop. So give up all those material desires. So determination. We're going to talk about a little bit about determination now. Determination. I looked it up. Where do you look it up? Wikipedia, of course, right? Determination. Here's the definition of determination. A positive emotional feeling that involves persevering towards a difficult goal in spite of obstacles. Determination occurs prior to goal attainment and serves to motivate behavior that will help one achieve one's goal. Listen to that. So that means You're going to persevere in the face of obstacles and difficulty. So in spiritual life, this has given us a hint that to make progress in spiritual life, it's not always going to be easy. There's going to be problems, difficulties. And where do those come? They could come from anywhere. But for a rigid practitioner, in spite of those difficulties, they persevere. And another meaning in this determination comes from a Greek word. And the Greek word means one-pointed focus. Interesting, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? One-pointed focus. There's a verse there in Bhagavad Gita. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana bahushaka hyanantascho buddhayo vyavasayana. So those who are on this path of yoga, they're resolute in purpose, and their focus or their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, those whose mind is irresolute, their focus is many-branched. So this one-pointed focus of determination, that's a part of determination, is what's being recommended here by Lord Krishna. One-pointed focus. Wow. I mean, there's so many things we have to do in life. How is it that we're going to get a determination for a one-pointed focus? That's a very question too. So first thing is, if you want to make your goal a specific goal, and you want to make it one-pointed and you're actually going to go for it, then that goal, you have to know a lot about what that goal is. Isn't it? If you're going someplace and you have no idea what it's like there, or why you want to go there, then why would you go? Why would you undergo austerities and troubles and try to overcome difficulties to arrive at that destination? Do you follow? So what is the goal of a person who's engaged in yoga? What is that goal?
Link up with the Supreme.
To link up with the Supreme. Very good, very good. And what will be the result of linking up with the Supreme? Liberation, okay.
Serving the Lord directly.
Serving the Lord directly, yes. These are important points. There's something more I'd like to hear. What's that?
Enhanced concept.
Enhanced consciousness, yes. Now we're kind of struggling on the material plane. We'll be elevated to a spiritual understanding. What else? Come on. So far, linking up with those sound good, but they don't have a lot of meat in them. Sorry for the expression.
Unlimited happiness.
Unlimited pleasure. Unlimited, never-ending happiness in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. Krishna means the all-attractive person. So to practice yoga, to be determined, we have to know and have really sure what the goal is if we're going to continue to be motivated towards that goal. It's it's common sense, right? So that goal has to be wonderful in order for us to persevere. Since there are so many distractions on the path, to achieve anything worthwhile, it's going to be tough. There's going to be disturbances. There's going to be difficulties. For example, when Srila Prabhupada wanted to start the Hare Krishna movement, there were many, many, many obstacles in his path. But you know what? He persevered. He was determined, as mentioned in this verse. Therefore, it happened. Anything important, anything valuable to achieve, it's going to require determination. What to speak of, becoming linked up with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the purport, we heard about the example that was given What was the example? Did you catch the example that was there? in the-
Sparrow.
Oh, sparrow. Wasn't that a nice example? Was that a nice example? So who was the sparrow? Who was the sparrow in this comparison? That's us, right? That's us. And you've been to the ocean, I'm sure, because it's not far. We don't have beaks, so in that way we're not sparrows. But I mean, even if you say, okay, you go to the ocean and you have a cup in your hand, right? You say, okay, I'm gonna dry up the ocean with this cup. I'm gonna go and imagine that for a moment. Imagine that, taking a cup and actually trying to dry up the ocean with a cup. And meaning business. You know that expression? So the sparrow meant business, isn't it? The sparrow meant business. And because the sparrow meant business, what happened? Huh? Well, but that was, but something happened in between that too. Yeah, the words, it was recognized that this sparrow is not messing around. They're serious about this business. It's not just a play, not just a... So the sparrow is serious about the business, and so the word spread, and finally, Garuda came and took up the task. So how does that relate to us? How does that relate to us? Bisham, how does that relate to us? I picked on you twice now.
We should give up.
Yes, okay. More than that, yes.
It shows that when we put forth the determination and effort towards Krishna, he's going to help us.
Yes. And what is that ocean? What is that ocean we're talking about?
Material desires.
Those are the material desires. You've got millions. If you're like me, you got millions and millions of material desires, and you try to stop, try to not engage them. Well, it's really tough. But by giving regular practice of determination of bhakti yoga or this yoga, then Krishna will help you. Daivihiyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tirantite. That this material energy, which is symbolized by all these thousands of shesha, unlimited material desires, it's impossible to overcome. It's impossible for you to dry up the ocean with your cup or your beak. Impossible. But if you get the help of Garuda or Krishna and can come to your aid, then certainly you can be overcome that by His grace. And there's a nice verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Shamashrita ye padapallava plavam mahatpadam punya yashom murari bhavam vidur vatsapadam parampadam padam yadvipadam natesha. Very nice verse, very nice verse. If somebody just takes shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, which are like padapallava plavam. Pallava means lotus, plava means boat, and pada means feet. His feet are like a lotus boat. Then the wide ocean of material existence, of material desires, of material birth and death, shrinks just by approaching his lotus feet, shrinks to the water that's there in the hoof print of a calf. And that you can easily just, step over it. This big ocean, that same ocean that the sparrow was trying to dry up. So we're talking about that's determination. So then I did a search on Vedabase, Vedabase, because in the purport, Srila Prabhupada not only talked about determination, but he talked about one other word that was really interesting.
Faith.
In the purport, though. Faith is correct, but in the purport. Oh, I'll just one brief word about faith. When I was a little kid, how parents give their kids like little songs to hear. In those days we had records. You can still find this record online. It's called The Carrot Seed. Have you ever heard the carrot seed? Very interesting, very interesting. You can look at it, you can search it, so The Carrot Seed, and you'll find videos of it. It's about 4 or 5 minutes long. So anyway, the story is, there's this little boy, and he decides he's going to grow a carrot. He's got a carrot seed. So he goes outside, and he digs a hole, and he puts the carrot seed in it, and he puts the dirt on top, and then he waters it, and he pulls weeds, and then his mother says, well, you know, son, mothers know a lot of things that little boys like you can't know. So don't be disappointed if your carrot doesn't grow. And his father says, oh, son, you know, fathers know a lot of things that little boys can't know. So don't worry too much if your carrot doesn't grow. And his older brother says, nah, it's not going to grow, it's not going to grow. So then the boy says, well, carrots grow from carrot seeds. I watered it, I pulled the weeds, carrots grow from carrot seeds. So he kept on getting this flack from his mother, his father, his older brother, but he kept on watering it, pulling the weeds, and you know what happened? You know what happened? The carrot grew. The carrot grew. So the same principle applies for us in our practice of Krishna consciousness. It's for sure that your development in spiritual life will happen if you follow the standard practice that's given by the acharyas. It's for sure. But it's not going to happen immediately. It takes a little while. And people will say, yeah, you won't get it. They'll do that. They will. You've met some of those people, I'm sure, in your life, right? I'm sure of it. So that's the patience part. And then there's the other part. One other word was utsaha. Utsaha means enthusiasm. Now, what does enthusiasm mean?
Excited to do
Huh?
always excited to do the things.
I couldn't hear you.
Always excited to do the things.
Yeah.
Service.
So I also checked the Wikipedia here too. It refers to intense enjoyment, interest, or approval expressed by a person about a particular person or activity. Playfulness, inventiveness, optimism, high energy. That's what it says. But you know where it actually came from? They originally came from that word enthusiasm. There's a word in the middle, thu, that comes from the Greek theos. You know what theos means? Theos means it's from God. There's an inspiration from God. Well, that's part of enthusiasm. So anyway, I did the search, and I thought I'd read some of the things about enthusiasm. And one of the important parts about this was, because, you know, there were many things mentioned in this verse about utsaha, nishchaya, dharya, but Srila Prabhupada took them all like kind of together. Not that there were they're kind of like one whole package. That enthusiasm goes with determination and goes with patience. They all come together. So let me read just a few of those. This is a Nectar Devotion lecture in 1072. Our whole Krishna consciousness movement is depending on enthusiasm. Just like I went to your country at the age of 70 years, nobody goes out of home. But there was enthusiasm. Yes, I must go. And because I went, something has happened. So, in the path of Krishna consciousness, the first principle is enthusiasm. If you lack enthusiasm, then other things will not happen. And you can keep enthusiastic if you follow the rules and regulations. And chant regularly Hare Krishna mantra. Otherwise, your enthusiasm will die. Another quote. First of all, the process is utsaha, enthusiasm. I must advance in spiritual life. That is required. And if you are failing enthusiasm, then the beginning will be failure. Then a letter to Dhananjaya. Please accept my blessings. I'm due receipt of your letter dated 28th November 1972. And I'm very happy from his report of Privatananda Swami. I'm especially glad to know that everyone is feeling so much enthusiasm to work hard in this preaching mission. This enthusiasm must be maintained under all circumstances. That is our price for entering Krishna's kingdom. Maya's work is to take away our enthusiasm to serve Krishna. Because without enthusiasm, everything is finished. Yeah. So then, how do you get enthusiasm? Did you catch that?
Following the
Yeah,
rules and
following
chanting.
Practicing, determined, following the rules and regulations. In the mundane world, in order to maintain people's enthusiasm, you know what they have?
Methamphetamines.
Cheerleaders. Isn't it? Don't they have cheerleaders? Have you ever seen a cheerleader? What they do? Well, you know, or you know, they have rallies. And the rallies in the political arenas or conventions, they have rallies, and everybody gets worked up to about some kind of thing. So where, not to minimize their importance, but where are the cheerleaders?
Morning, he teaches the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 7:50 a.m. Horizontal Channel. As he mentioned, we're now going to have Arti, and this month we chant the Dhammadarastakam prayers and offer a candle to the Lord. As we did last week, if you weren't here, we'll line up on that side, the Ardeshwar Bihari side, and everybody will be given a lamp. We're just going to ask that everybody just get one lamp per person. Sometimes you may want to get 2 or 3 because of somebody who's not here, so you have somebody in your family that's not here, so you want to get one for them. Tonight, if we just ask you just one per person, we have these nice diyas that were made by members of our community. And we also want to, if you haven't been here, haven't seen yet, we have this beautiful deity of Mother Yashoda and Lord Damodar. And this is new to our temple just this week. And this is here to enhance our love and meditation throughout the month. So as you're offering candles and chanting these prayers, may you fix your eyes on this beautiful form of Lord Yashoda. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.